My name is Claire Reynolds, and I used to think living alone would be peaceful. My little rental house on the edge of Asheville, North Carolina was supposed to be my sanctuary, a quiet space to work on. My freelance graphic design jobs, drink coffee, and binge-watch shows on weekends. But that changed last winter. It began with a sound. One night, I woke on the couch to a faint rhythmic clicking, not loud, but steady click, click, click. I lay there frozen, listening in the dark, my skin prickling like someone was in the room with me. I told myself it was the heater, the house was old, and my landlord had warned me about weird noises, but something felt off. The sound stopped the second I stood up. My heart pounded as I walked room to room, turning on lights, whispering hello to no one. Nothing. The next morning, I noticed the security camera above the front door was tilted slightly, pointing toward the driveway instead of the door. I hadn't touched it. That made my stomach knot. I checked the footage on my phone and my whole body went cold. At 2:34 a.m., there I was on the couch, asleep, and outside my living room window stood a man who'd pulled low face in shadow. He just stood there for 5 minutes, completely still, like a mannequin just watching me sleep. Then he turned and melted into the dark. I called the police, my hands shaking so hard I nearly dropped my phone. 2 officers arrived, watched the footage, said it was probably a trespasser, maybe a drunk neighbor. Their casual tone made me angry. They promised extra patrols, but told me to stay calm. That night, I slept with every light on, but kept waking to the smallest creaks and cracks. 3 nights later, while cleaning the living room, I saw something on the ceiling near the smoke detector, a tiny black dot. I dragged a chair over, climbed up, and froze. It was a camera lens staring back at me. I ripped the smoke detector down, and my stomach turned over when I saw the tiny wireless camera inside. My hands shook as I tore through the rest of the house. I found 2 more, one hidden in the kitchen light fixture, and another inside the bathroom vent. My legs nearly gave out. Someone had been watching me every day, every night, while I cooked, while I showered, while I slept. I called the police again, this time crying hysterically. They came, collected the cameras, questioned my landlord. He swore he hadn't been inside for months. That night, I couldn't bear to stay. I stuffed clothes into a bag and drove to a cheap motel outside town. I barely slept, but around 3 a.m. My phone buzzed, a motion notification from my door camera. Against my better judgment, I opened the feed. The man was back, standing just out of reach of the porch light, his face still hidden. Slowly, he raised one hand and waved at the camera like he knew I was watching. I clapped a hand over my mouth to keep from screaming. By the time police arrived, he was gone again. The next morning, I returned to the house with my best friend Melissa to pack up everything. Nothing seemed stolen, but the living room window was unlocked and a coffee mug I always kept on the counter was missing. That detail bothered me more than anything. I moved into a new apartment across town that day, high security building keycard, access my own cameras installed. For the first few weeks, I started to feel safe again. Then one night, I was on the couch binge watching a show when my phone buzzed, motion detected in the bedroom. My stomach dropped. I was in the living room. I opened the feed and my blood turned to ice. A man was standing in the corner of my bedroom, his back to the camera. Slowly he turned and faced it. It was him. No hoodie this time, and around his neck hung the broken handle of my missing coffee mug like a trophy. He stared into the camera and smiled. Then the feed went black. I couldn't even scream. I just sat frozen until my brain caught up, and I called the police. They searched the apartment, found no sign of forced entry, no fingerprints, nothing. They suggested maybe my camera system had been hacked, but I knew what I saw. Melissa insisted I'd come stay with her. The first night I was there, we both heard it around 3 a.m. Slow, deliberate footsteps outside her front door, then soft scratching like fingernails on wood. Melissa called the police. They found nothing. For a week, I stayed with her, terrified to be alone. Then one afternoon while she was at work, I got another notification from my apartment motion detected. My hands shook as I opened the feed. He was sitting on my couch, one arm draped casually across the back, like he belonged there. Then he leaned forward until his face filled the frame and spoke for the first time. "Claire," calm, almost gentle, like he was greeting me. Then the feed cut out. The police came again. Nothing. Melissa finally convinced me to get away completely. We drove 30 miles out of town to her brother S house, a quiet rural property surrounded by woods. For 3 days, nothing happened, and I started to think maybe it was over. Then on the 4th day, I went outside and saw something glinting in the trees. A small black camera zip-tied to a branch pointed straight at the house. I ripped it down, shaking, and Melissa's brother called the sheriff. They found 2 more cameras hidden nearby. That night, we stayed up watching the windows. At 2:45 a.m., we heard footsteps outside, slow and deliberate. Then the sound of a ladder scraping against the house. Melissa's brother grabbed his shotgun, shouted into the night, and a figure darted into the woods. The sheriff increased patrols, but I couldn't relax. On the 5th night, I woke to find a piece of paper slid under the door. A photo. It was a still from my bedroom camera, me asleep, and behind me in the doorway stood the man. The date printed was that night. I screamed so loud, Melissa ran from her room. The time the sheriff arrived, whoever left it was gone. The next morning, I decided to leave the state entirely. I packed up, drove back to my apartment to grab the last of my things, checked my phone one last time. The camera app was already open. Live feed, my apartment was empty. Then slowly he walked into frame, sat down on my couch, and smiled directly at me. He picked something up my house keys and held them toward the camera. Then the feed went black. And at that exact moment, I heard the front door creak open behind me.
Story number 2. My name is Emily Hart, and I never thought a camera could ruin my life. I moved into a quiet little apartment in Portland last fall after a painful breakup. I told myself this was my fresh start. I bought candles, soft blankets, even a tiny indoor plant to make the space feel safe. The first night I slept with the windows open, breathing in the cool air, feeling free for the first time in months. At 3 a.m., I woke to the sound of my phone buzzing, a notification from the security app. I de-installed a single camera in my living room, mostly to check on my cat when I was away. Half asleep, I opened the feed. The camera was moving, slowly panning from left to right. I didn't even know it could do that. And then it stopped pointing at my bedroom door. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then a man's voice came through the audio channel whispering, "Good night, Emily." I bolted upright and turned on every light, shaking so badly I could hardly breathe. I called the police. They came, searched every room, every closet, nothing. They told me to reset my Wi-Fi passwords. Maybe the camera had been hacked. The next day, I bought new locks, but my hands wouldn't stop trembling. I worked from home, but I couldn't focus. Every sound from the hallway made me jump. My cat wouldn't go near the living room anymore, just sat in the doorway staring like she saw something I couldn't see. 2 nights later, the camera app sent another notification. Motion detected. I was too scared to open it. I sat frozen on the couch, listening to my own heart hammer in my ears. Then the sound came through the speaker again, a man humming softly like a lullaby. I threw the camera into a drawer and cried until I couldn't cry anymore. My mum begged me to come stay with her. But I told her I was fine because I didn't want to admit how terrified I really was. Instead, I started staying up all night, coffee and energy drinks lined up on the table until I would finally crash at sunrise. I stopped answering calls. I stopped showering during the day, only late at night when I thought no one could hear. The police came twice more, but they never found anything. One night I decided to unplug the camera for good. When I opened the drawer, it was gone. I tore my apartment apart, looking under furniture, inside cabinets, nothing. That night, I dreamed of a man sitting in my living room chair, smiling gently, his head tilted as if he felt sorry for me. I woke up sobbing, and for the first time, I thought about moving away. Then the next morning, there was a note slid under my door. No threat, just 2 words, written neatly in black ink. Don't leave. I couldn't breathe. I packed a bag and drove 3 hours to my mum's house without telling anyone. For a few nights, I actually slept. Then on the 4th night, my mum woke me because my cat was sitting at the top of the stairs hissing at nothing. We heard soft footsteps on the porch outside. When my mum called the sheriff, they found a camera hidden in a plant pot pointed at my bedroom window. They also found fresh footprints in the dirt leading into the woods behind the house. I don't remember much after that, just the feeling of my stomach dropping and my legs going weak. We stayed at a hotel that night, but around 3 a.m. the hotel phone rang. When I answered, there was silence for a moment, then the same soft humming ID heard through my camera before. I dropped the phone. The next morning we went back to the house. On the porch was a small gift box. Inside was my missing camera wrapped in a ribbon and a single photo of me sleeping taken from inside my bedroom just days before. My mum cried and begged me to leave town. I still did. I sold nearly everything and moved across the country to Chicago, where no one knows me. I haven't installed another camera since. But some nights, just before I fall asleep, I swear I hear that soft humming again, like he followed me here, and he just waiting for me to look.